I really think it was a very mature performance. We were there in the right moments. Especially first goal was really nice play and these kind of things. But we have to give credit to Watford and especially to Roy. We obviously make us some difficulties. We could have done better, definitely. But after being 2 weeks nearly not together and stuff like this, then the early kickoff, it's really tricky.
Still annoyed about that penalty really, because a penalty where there's no appeal from a Liverpool player. Neither Jurgen or I see anything untoward that's gone on, in the situation. All of a sudden the game stopped and we hear there's a VAR check, and we were looking at each other saying, what do you mean a VAR check? What are they checking? Surely that's not what VAR was meant to do, is it? And it leaves a little bit of a bitter taste. We created some chances against them. There's no doubt that Liverpool must have felt they were in a game today, and with a bit more composure, we might have even created more chances.
If I'm on the pitch, I'm always able to find at least an opportunity to score. So it's up to me to stay focused and take those chances. And I've been opening the score. That is always the hardest thing, and I'm really happy for that, and I hope I can keep doing that.
He's doing a brilliant job at Liverpool, no doubt about that. And I think it's fair to say that it wasn't one of Liverpool's best days, but you found three players that probably made sure they had the victory, which is the most important thing, particularly at this stage.
Exactly. After international break, it's all about the 3 points, but the 3 players, Thiago, Gomez and Jota, I did think they just added that extra quality when needed. Yeah. The first pass you'll see from Thiago is absolutely sublime. Takes out 3 players with
Where's
a pass.
Where's he going to do it? Where's he going to
I mean, how has he even seen that? It's just extraordinary. I just hear first touch pass. Defender does well to get back, and he was doing his defensive work, stopping counter-attacks. And Klopp here is, applauding him for his work. And then Gomez, this is the one that means the most to me, just because of his injury problems.
He's so unlucky, hasn't he?
I've been so getting a cruciate injury, but it's a wonderful ball. It's an outstanding run from Jota. Someone so small, timing of his run excellent. But if you look at the quality of this ball from Gomez, it's Trent-esque the way he's doing it. And this was another one he had. Cabecella does really well to get it right, but the technique to whip it round and put it on a sixpence, I just thought it was worth mentioning. But the man of the moment, Jota, like he said in his interview there, he always finds space to get a chance. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time. He popped into little pockets, dribbling past a couple. Actually gets a little bit unlucky on this. On another time, he could have hurt him a little bit more. And then this is just his awareness again, popping in, and it's the weight of the ball to Mane. Ben Foster does well in the end, but I just thought them 3 today were outstanding.
Is it Jota or Jota?
Jota, I thought it was Jota, no? Jota?
I've been saying Jota. I've been saying Jota for about 2 years now.
Oh, really?
So
I got told Jota.
No, maybe, who knows?
Whatever it is,
we'll find out.
He's a fantastic player.
He really is.
The recruitment from Liverpool has been superb. I mean, his timing in the air is magnificent.
Yeah.
He's been in the air. Another, what was he, 41 million pound?
You don't have to be a giant to be good in the air, do you?
It's all about timing.
No, you really don't. Watford made life difficult for Liverpool.
Oh, yeah, Liverpool knew they were in a game. There's no
you've got to
doubt
take
about
your
it.
chances.
And when you create 2 very, very good opportunities like Watford did, the first one was Kuchka. Did very well to get there in the first place, but that high line that Liverpool play, Watford work it really, really well. Yes, it's a good save, and that was it 0-0. And they go straight up the other end, Liverpool, and score less than a minute after that. So that is a key moment in the game. This was it 1-0. It was to make it 1-1. Lovely run from Sarr. He looks up, he puts into the path of Pedro. And again, when you're creating big opportunities like that at Anfield, you've got to punish them. And they didn't. So they've only got themselves to blame because Liverpool didn't really play that well.
Is this a penalty
Kuchka again
on
Jota. Yeah, it is a penalty. I mean, Roy Hodgson, I'm sure when he sees that angle there, VAR gets it correct, but that goes on every weekend. We see that, so let's hope they give that on a more consistent basis now. I mean, Fabinho sticks it away superbly well. What a penalty it is.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Yeah. So, how would Manchester City respond? They travelled to Burnley, another team in the relegation zone. Jonathan Pearce Was at Turf Moor. OK, right. Here we go. Title race. It's tight, very tight. Let's have a look at it. And there are obvious comparisons with 2018-2019 when Manchester City and Liverpool went to the wire. Incredible. In fact, from this stage, they won their last 8 games each, didn't they? And Manchester City won by a single point. That can't happen this time because, of course, next week, Manchester City play against Liverpool at the Etihad. Micah, how do you feel? Do you think City are going to hang on to it?
Yeah. I
Two
do,
great sides.
Just because I think these are two of the best sides we've ever seen in the Premier League. And Man City a couple of seasons ago when, they got 100 points and Liverpool narrowly missing out by a point. Yeah. At that sort of numbers, you would win the Premier League. So we're two great teams, but I just feel Man City have the edge because the game next week is at the Etihad.
And Liverpool have only won once in the last 10. At the Etihad.
Are you trying to jinx it?
You told me that earlier.
But I didn't want to say it on air.
I know you didn't want to say it because you thought it would jinx it. And now you're accusing me of trying to jinx it. I'm just giving you a fact.
Well, facts are facts. And I think Liverpool obviously outstanding.
Well, another fact is I'm so surprised he thinks Man City are going to
win it. He might jinx it.
The standard of football from these two football clubs over the past few years has been ridiculous. So he's going for City, I'm going for Liverpool.
Just because he's going for City, or because you think it will be?
Because he wants to say
the opposite
he wants
to
the
him.
Liverpool fans to like him, that's why.
Alan, why do you hate Manchester City?
I don't know exactly. Biased again.
I'm not an ambassador for City, that's why.
We'll move on.
So Liverpool went top of the table for the first time since December the 4th, and they actually weren't really at their very best, were they? But they got the job done.
Well, that's how good Liverpool are. Even in probably third gear, they're too good for pretty much everyone. So they weren't vintage, but they didn't need to be. And, credit to this group of players. That's 10 on the bounce in the Premier League. This is such a strong side. You have so many players that can hurt you. Joe Gomez, I thought, played really well today, put in a great cross for the goal. Jota's great in the air. All of a sudden now they don't rely on that front three anymore with Jota and Diaz coming inside. The depth is there. So I thought Thiago played well, but such a complete Liverpool side. They really are special.
They are special. And would you say, Martin, it's one of the strongest Liverpool squads that we've seen for a while?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Owen's just mentioned half a dozen players, and you think, gosh, yeah, that's right. He's there, and he's there, he's there. Yeah. Coming up this particular weekend, I know this from a managerial viewpoint, it's really worrying for Klopp because he's getting players back. They've been away in international duty. Their head's all about international football, trying to qualify for the World Cup, things like this here. So he's getting the players back. I know he's not the only one, but he's getting his players back. They're playing Watford. The crowd are expecting to win this game. So it's getting their mindset right. Some of those players might not have been arrived back on maybe until Thursday morning or something like this. He's got the game. And so he has to get those things right. So Owen mentioned it wasn't a vintage performance. And sometimes, actually, it doesn't take that. It just takes all the things that Owen has mentioned that make up Liverpool now to win the game. And Klopp mentions that there, and that's right. They've got this great strength of character. And it had to show there today because they could have easily found themselves a goal behind. Then suddenly there's a wee bit of a worry. But they've taken it. They've got great players. They've got a good manager, a really good manager in charge. And they're making it interesting for us all.
They certainly are. Let's see how they actually went ahead in the game. And this started with an Alisson save, didn't it?
Yeah, but I think this is what Roy has. Obviously, he sets up, defends and they set deep. But they, with that Liverpool high line, Watford do great to get behind. It's a fantastic save from Alisson, it really is. And I think that's what Roy mentioned. They, on another day, they probably could have caused a bit of trouble. But this is what Thiago's all about there. Confident possession around the corner. And Joe Gomez getting into that Trent Alexander-Arnold position. That's a great ball, isn't it, Martin?
I think he thought he was Trent Alexander there for a moment, because I'm surprised. It's a really, really brilliant cross.
And actually, I think there was a lot of slight concern over the fact that Trent wasn't available. I know he was back on the bench, wasn't he? But I think amongst the Liverpool supporters there was that feeling of, OK, how will Gomez slot back into that right-back position? But he was probably one of their best players today.
He was, and I think as well, Jota's, really underrated in the air. He's fantastic in the air, getting on the end of it. And the thing is as well, if you make a few mistakes like Kuchka does there, I don't know why rugby tackles Jota in the box. They did nothing. They saw it, then go to VAR, and look there. That's going to be so easy for them to be able to give. Every time they go to the monitor, they have a look. But I'll tell you what, Fabinho's a fantastic penalty taker.
Yeah, you mentioned that. He certainly is. He certainly is cool. I'm not so sure. And you can see what it means to Klopp here. This is a goal. This is against Watford at home. This is the second goal, and he's cheering that on like you wouldn't believe. So the game meant so much to Liverpool because they had to win. They had to win, and they did it. They did it. They might not have done it in the style they're accustomed to, but they've won. That's at this stage. Well, sorry, at any stage, winning is everything.
Yeah, and I can imagine as a manager, when you start this run up until, you know, the end of the season, we're in the business end of the season, every game matters for Liverpool. To start it with a win is so important.
Well, it's a great thing now. You can totally concentrate on it. Your season, your club season's there. So you don't have to worry about those players disappearing off again for a couple of weeks. So they're totally in your hands now. And you feel as if that's gone. Right, we've won here now. Now let's concentrate because it's a heavy programme ahead of them.
And also, you mentioned the heavy programme. It's Benfica on Tuesday night in the Champions League. They have got such an important week coming up because at the end of it, it's the game against Manchester City. This is a huge week for Liverpool Football Club.
It is, but I think when you play at this level, every week is huge. And I think, look, they're a great team with a great coach, great players. Their greatest strength, in my opinion, is their mentality. And that shows through every time they play. They might lose a game, you know, they might not win, they might play poorly, but the mentality's there every time. You know, and I think that's their greatest attribute. And that's why they win trophies, and that's why they'll be right there at the end of the season for the Premier League, the Champions League. They'll be up for every trophy because they compete. Even they didn't play their best today, but the mentality allows them to be one of the best teams, not only in this league, but in the world of football.
How many trophies do you think they'll walk away with this season then, Martin?
I have no idea, really no idea, because they're up against Manchester City. They've got them in the semi-final as well too of the FA Cup. Both are still vying for the big one, the big Champions League. Both going again. I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea. No one has any idea because actually the story changes every week, doesn't it? But one thing that Liverpool have provided is an incredible title race this season because at one point they were, 14 points off of Manchester City. And now they've closed that gap. I mean, today they went top of the table. It's remarkable how they've turned it around.
Well, again, it goes back to that mentality. You would have thought the Premier League was out of sight. You know, I don't think any of us really thought the race was over, really, and to be 12 points behind in January, to now be ahead, you know, for a little spell is really amazing. So credit to them that they've made this a title race. And I think, look, I think they'll win one or two when this season's over. Just know the question is, which one is it going to be?
Which ones will it be? That is indeed the question. So Liverpool went top of the table, but of course it wasn't too long until Manchester City were up against Burnley.
Yeah, it's tough because they have a certain type of playing, and I think they are always physical. Always, you need to be prepared for the long balls. You know, they have a tall striker, so it's about the second balls, winning them, and try to create chances and score goals. And yeah, the pitch was a bit dry also today. That didn't help our game so much, especially in the second half. But I think, yeah, it was very important to score the first one, and then it made it easier for us.
Listen, I said in the press conference yesterday, so when you arrive in April, May, challenging to lift the titles is because you have done an incredible season. The big clubs, the men arrive at the end, the chances. After you win another win, can happen because the opponents are good too. So we have to accept it. But being here is because we work a lot. And the credit is after 5 seasons doing that every single season. And when that's happened, there's a lot of credit for all organization that we have. And we're going to fight. We're going to fight. The opponent is so tough, but it's so good. But they said we're going to make a proper battle. Okay, we accept it. We're going to make a proper battle too.
And Burnley certainly won't be judging their season based on a result against Manchester City. What is interesting, though, is that top two in the Premier League. So Man City went second temporarily, but they've just showed their mentality. Once again, used the word mentality a couple of times to describe Liverpool. But Man City are no different, and it didn't faze them at all that they went second because within 5 minutes they went top again.
No, but I think the top teams don't worry about anybody else. You know, they're so focused on their game. It's so fine-tuned from the manager, from the players. Everybody knows their role. Even when they lose, if they're unfortunate enough to lose, they don't really play poorly, Liverpool and Man City, anymore. You know, somebody makes a mistake, give away a penalty, a ref makes a bad decision, or somebody scores a worldie. You rarely ever see either of these two teams play poorly. And that's a real testament to the coaches and the players. Yeah, you got one eye on Liverpool, but I think they're more worried. They know if they play their game, their best game, they win the game, you know, 95 times out of 100.
It's quite scary to think, though, the standard of football that both of these teams are playing. They're just pushing each other every single week to get better and better. It's been remarkable to watch.
It has, just not this season as well, too, but the season that they were split by hair's breadth or something like this here. It's been terrific stuff. They've got really good players at the disposal, really good managers as well, too. And you've mentioned that their own about the mentality. But I honestly don't think that you can win big titles or leagues if you didn't have a strong mentality. You might be able to fluke a game or two or something that gets along the way, you know, and you might actually be able to fluke into the semi-finals of some competition. You might be able to do that. But to have the mentality, to have that strength of character throughout, and they create. The two teams create. You know, this is, you know, when they play 3 or 4 passes backwards, you feel as if something's actually, they're playing it for a purpose. Whereas a lot of teams in the Premier League are playing the ball backwards because that's expected of them now to try and keep possession of the ball. But you feel as if Liverpool and Man City are playing, there's something behind what they're going to do. Man City can do you by, say, the little 1-2s around the penalty area, so they don't need the big centre forward. But Liverpool can do that, but Liverpool also overpower you as well. You feel as if they've got unbelievable strength of the team. Mane is one of my favourite players. I love him. I really do think he's a fantastic player, and he plays every single week. Every week. This is the point. So it's great. It's great to have it. It's really great for the Premier League to have two teams as outstanding as they are.
Yeah, absolutely well said. And from now until the end of the season, every single fan is watching their every single move to see where will either slip up. Will both teams win all their games to the end of the season? Well, of course, they play each other, and it starts next week. So that's going to be a huge, huge match, which determines what might happen.
I mean, it'd be great if we could have them play the final game of the season, wouldn't it? Because when you look at all the other fixtures, you'd think they probably, you know, you'd think, I know on paper, and it never works out like this, Martin, but you'd think, oh, they'll beat them. You know, City will beat Brighton and Watford and Leeds and Newcastle, West Ham. But obviously that game coming up next week, that's huge.
You could nearly make that assumption if that's all they were playing for them, but they're also heavily involved in the Champions League, and that's the holy grail for them as well. Particularly Manchester City, who have not done it yet, you know.
Yes.
And
they really want the Champions League, don't they?
They really do, absolutely. They really do.
And it's interesting when you look at Liverpool's run after City, they have Manchester United, which is always a difficult fixture because there's so much history between the two, and then the Merseyside derby. I know Everton aren't what they have been and they're struggling, but every team there has something to play for.
You're right, and obviously Liverpool have the harder fixtures, and especially the next 3, the next 4. After that, they have a relatively easy finish, but you know the title race will be decided for Liverpool probably in the next 4 games for them. I think for City, it's hard to see them dropping points really anywhere. I know Palace has sprung a surprise, but if they play normal City, they pretty much beat all those teams quite comfortably.
How do you think both managers now, from now until the end of the season, manage these players? Because it's so important.
You know what? I actually think managing them in what way? What way do you mean?
I mean, just in terms of making sure that they stay focused and that they are.
Oh, you know what? I think that's easy. If we were talking about a team that this was the first year that they were actually competing strongly with it, I could understand that totally. About, gosh, you've got to concentrate here. Don't. Please stay in tonight. Don't go out. These boys have been doing it for year after year. So I think that's the easiest thing in the world for the manager of these particular teams I'm talking about to get them focused. Absolutely. You know, and that's why they're brilliant players. That's one of the reasons. That not only do they have the ability, but they also have the mentality. It's there for them. So you know what? Easy, easy, absolutely easy. It's the injuries that would concern you. It's those particular things that might crop up. So Owen mentioned it. Something will happen. You know, that they might lose a game because you're not expected to lose the match because something happened. But it won't be because they have dropped incredibly below their own standards. They're there for a reason, and they've been there the year before, and they've been there the year before that. That's why I think the manager's job here. He's created this thing. The two managers, have created this, but now it's flowing for them, and it's a matter of just keeping an eye on them. That's all. But
and
no,
it'll be fascinating, won't it, to see it all unfold as the weeks roll by until the end of the season. Right, it's time for a break.